Council spends your money.
Yes.
Cut your taxes, big smiley face.
Along with freeze. Look, there are confusions in all local elections between national and local issues.
Already broken a promise to voters.
Let's be clear, I campaigned up and down the country in the run-up to May the 1st last year. Never once did I say we could cut council tax because the levels of debts meant that would be impossible. What you're talking about is a leaflet with national policies on one side and local policies on the other. And the national policies were stop the boats, lower taxes, etc. We never promised. And actually, do you know what? 10 months in to being majority control of 10 councils, I am proud of the fact that we've made hundreds of millions of pounds of savings and that our council tax rises are lower than everybody else's.
I worried that you might misremember this, so I actually dug out some of those leaflets from last year. So here's one of yours, your big smiling face there. Cut your taxes.
Yes, with stop the boats and scrap net zero. They are national party policies. They are not specific to local
here's
council.
another one. This one from Lancashire. It's you're not smiling there, serious face.
Good Lord.
Reform UK stands for real change, putting local people first. We fight for lower council tax.
And we've given it. We've given it. We've given lower council taxes than everybody else.
You've raised it.
Sunderland is just over the road where we've increased council tax by less than the rate of inflation. Look, you can split hairs on this if you want to.
I'm not splitting hairs on it. This one's from Kent.
Yep.
Right at the top there. You can change the way Kent County Council spends your money.
Yes.
Cut your taxes, big smiley face.
Along with freeze. Look, there are confusions in all local elections between national and local issues, and I get that. But
can you see how some people might look at this?
No, any journalists that are looking back at things and trying to find an argument.
Really, you can't think that there is some sympathy for people who thought this local leaflet with Kent right at the top and cut your taxes.
If I was living over the road here in Sunderland, I'd be very pleased at a 1.99% rise in council tax.
All councils can do is, the only tax they can lower is council tax.
And we've lowered it, and we haven't increased it, in that case, even to the level of inflation. You know what? We've saved hundreds of millions of pounds. We've proved to be able to run the councils. There have been some bumps in the road, of course, but we've managed to show we can control the budgets.
Your argument here is now that you are raising council taxes by less than the Conservatives and Labour, but you're still raising them, aren't you?
We've got to. We're inheriting huge debts in these councils. And by the way, there's no magic wand in local government. I've never ever, over-promised and under-delivered. We know the pressures of adult social care, SEND provision for kids. None of this is easy. I get that, but I certainly stand by. I never last year or this year have over-promised.
In Worcestershire, you are raising the council tax by 9%.
We are not in control in Worcestershire. We are minority leaders in Worcestershire in an impossible position. Worcestershire is on the edge of being declared bankrupt. It's a very difficult situation. And by the way, that's not our cause.
You've said with Worcestershire, I have to say we took minority control of a virtually bankrupt council. I wish we hadn't.
British politics like this one, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Dark British Believe It, or not over 98% of viewers watch our content without hitting the follow button. Subscribing is completely free.
Bothered.
Well,
you want to be the Prime Minister.
You know what? They're very brave. They're very brave to do it.
But I don't know if you've spotted the UK finances. They're not going great. You want to be Prime Minister.
There's a complete difference here. If you win an election, you win an election.
Can you be bothered then?
We didn't quite win this election. We could have let those that had dragged us into this mess in Worcestershire continue with it or take it on.
Part of the problem with council finances is the same problem that everyone's having. It's the cost of living, which has been contributed to by the US-Iran war. Can I just check what your position is on that war? Because it seems to have changed.
Never altered. We should not have denied the Americans' usage of Diego Garcia and RAF Fairford. I was clear about that at the beginning.
Okay.
We should support efforts to clear the Straits of Hormuz with what equipment we've got.
Right at the start you said the gloves need to come off and the UK should do all we can to support the operation. I made that perfectly clear. So yes or no?
Yes, we should have supported the operation.
Would you want the UK directly bombing Iran?
What Royal Navy have we got? It took us 3 weeks and 1 day to get a single naval vessel to the RAF base in it.
But would you want to be, if you were Prime Minister?
No, I wouldn't. Not directly involved. I would have supported the Americans from the very start. And I tell you why. because without America, we are literally defenseless.
So you would just agree to whatever the US want?
We're now in the worst of all worlds, right? We said no, you can't use the bases, and despite the fact we said that, the Iranians still fired rockets at British sovereign territory, and then we U-turned.
Was Donald Trump wrong to go to war with Iran and drive up energy prices for everyone?
Well, hang on a sec. Energy prices we've driven up in this country without the Iran war. Was it right for America and Israel to try and stop Iran becoming a nuclear weapons country? I think it was.
And would you have backed them up?
I would not have hindered them, and what we did was to hinder them from day one. That was a big mistake.
But direct bombing by the UK?
We have no contribution of any significant size to make. That is how weak we are now with our armed forces. So even if we wanted to do it, there's not much to add.
Nigel Farage, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
This interview perfectly captures what critics see as the empty core of right-wing populism. It is easy to stand on a stage, point at the establishment, and promise to fix the economy, reduce immigration, and cut taxes. It is a completely different challenge when you actually win an election and discover that public services need funding to function. Roger's defense here is particularly revealing. He argues that his councils inherited huge debts and were placed in extremely difficult situations, which is probably true. In fact, it may be one of the most honest points he makes during the discussion. But that is the reality of government. It is the reality of years of financial pressure on local authorities and the consequences of economic policies that have been debated for decades. You cannot reduce the size of the state, promise major tax cuts, and then act shocked when services such as adult social care and special educational support are struggling financially. Notice how quickly he shifts the blame when challenged. When confronted with a leaflet carrying his own image alongside the words "cut your taxes," he attempts to argue that it was simply a national policy message that ended up on a local leaflet. Critics would say that this looks like an attempt to avoid responsibility. The explanation feels weak, especially when voters can clearly see the message that was being presented to them. It gives the impression that politicians expect the public to overlook obvious contradictions. And when the domestic explanations begin to run out, the conversation shifts again. Suddenly, the focus turns to American military strategy and the argument that Britain remains heavily dependent on its allies for defense. In the eyes of critics, this mirrors the very behavior that populist movements often accuse the establishment of displaying, making big promises, failing to deliver, and leaving ordinary working people to deal with the consequences. At the same time, credit should be given where it is deserved. Regular viewers of this channel will know that I am often critical of large parts of the British media. However, Channel 4 is one of the few outlets that regularly carries out this kind of detailed scrutiny. They often do a strong job of forcing politicians to answer difficult questions and defend the details of their policies. The problem is that Channel 4 does not have the same reach as the BBC. The BBC is the national broadcaster. It has the audience, the resources, and the responsibility to keep the public informed. Yet many critics argue that, when it comes to UK politics, the BBC has too often failed to challenge certain political figures with the same level of scrutiny. Instead of the kind of detailed, evidence-based questioning seen in this interview, critics claim that the BBC sometimes provides high-profile politicians with a larger platform while avoiding the tougher follow-up questions. They argue that this creates a sense of balance that may not always involve enough critical examination of the claims being made. If the BBC applied the same level of scrutiny shown in this interview more consistently, some believe that many political narratives would be tested far more quickly and far more thoroughly. So, what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching.